If you're a coach, consultant, or agency owner currently looking to actually scale your company, then what I want to do in this video, I want to break down the 4 pillars in what it actually takes to scale your company. Very simple, very easy to understand. Because most of the times I get coaches, consultants, or agency owners coming to me and saying, hey, I have had a leads problem for many years and I cannot figure it out, okay? Or, hey, I have a sales problem, or maybe I have a systems problem, or I have a culture problem. So within this video, I want to actually break down the 4 pillars, what it takes to scale your company, and then you will have a better understanding of what it actually takes to get the leads in, to get the sales, to systemize the business, to automate the business, and to get the right people inside, hire and train them in order for you to scale your company. And I'm also going to talk about how to actually increase your pricing for your offer, using something what's called the dependency level, or opening a higher tier market. Okay, so let's get into it. My name is Robert Wolfman. I'm the CEO for Systems for Scaling, and walking you through the 4 pillars, we start the first at leads. Okay, most of the times I hear things like, hey, I'm not getting enough qualified leads, I'm not getting enough volume of leads, or I can't really find leads that can afford my service. So the first thing what we need to really solve is the leads problem into the business. Because in order for you to really scale your coaching agency or consulting business, we need to have enough leads coming in. So you need to have enough volume of leads coming inside of your business. Because if you do not have enough volume of leads coming inside of your business, then there's a big problem, because you can't really scale, because you can't really have an average closing ratio, an average cost per lead, and we can't really have enough data to understand what needs to be done in order for us to scale the business. So if you have a problem that you don't have enough leads on the call, right? Or let's say you even have calls booked in, but they're not really qualified. I'm going to show you how to fix that. But let's just say you don't have enough leads coming in, okay? You don't have like 30, 40, 50, 60 calls booked a month, and you can't get to that level. Or perhaps you maybe have 10, 20, 30 calls booked in and they are unqualified, okay? So then there's a couple things we can really do. So let's focus on the leads. So for leads, there's a couple things. First of all, leads go around audience, they go around offer, and then go around specifics, okay? The more specific you are within your offer, it also will show what type of leads you are actually bringing inside of your business, because it's very important that we understand the concepts of being specific, being very focused on one target audience. Because most of the times what I see when I speak to coaches, when I speak to consultants or agency owners, I see most of the times that they are trying to solve a problem for a very generic audience, a very broad audience, okay? So it's not very specific. So this is why you may have a problem of not getting qualified leads, because you haven't really figured out who is the target audience. Most of the times I have heard, well, I'm going after people that have past trauma. But that past trauma doesn't have any specifications around it, like what type of past trauma, how long, what that past trauma is really doing. We need to be very specific. We really need to understand our target avatar. And when I say target avatar, it's our dream client, right? So your dream client avatar. We need to get all the specifics about it, right? So it's not just enough if you're an agency and you say, hey, well, I'm going to help coaches, consultants, agency owners, business owners, service providers. You may be going too broad, you may be going too generic. And because of that, you may also be struggling of getting qualified leads or enough leads. Because when a prospect is in the market, and let's say they're looking at solution, and I'm going to give you some examples. Let's say, for example, I have a person with who has maybe a back pain, okay, and they see 3 offers. First offer they see is like, hey, I help people with pain. And then let's say I have somebody that says, hey, I help people with sports pain, okay? And then let's say the third one could be, I help people with back pain, right? Now, let me ask you a question. Which of these 3, right? Pain, sports pain, or back pain is more related for someone that has a back pain? obviously the option number 3, which is the back pain. And the same applies here when we are crafting our offer, and when we are going in the marketplace and actually marketing our offer. We need to be very specific, because that specifications, right, those will be the things that will pick the right audience for you. Those will be the things that will put the right qualified leads inside of your actual ecosystem of your business. Without being very specific, you really will be struggling to getting the right leads, because you will get a mix of leads. You may be getting somebody with knee pain, right, instead of back pain that we are looking for. You may be getting somebody with headaches instead of back pain that we are really solving. Like, let's say I'm a professional in back pain, but let's say I'm just marketing pain. Well, if I'm not very specific of what type of pain problems I'm solving, or like, let's say I'm a therapist and I help people with back pain, I'm not very specific on what pain I'm solving, then I can get people with I can get with knee pain, I can get with hip pain, I can get them all different pains, but except back pain. So this is why we need to be very specific, right? So your offer, your audience needs to be very specific for who you are doing it, right? So let's say, even to be more specific, man over 30 suffering from back pain. Now we are very specific. Now we know that we are getting only man over 30s with back pain. So when a man is looking at your offer, right, a woman is looking at you, they're like, she sees, hey, man over 30 is struggling with back pain, she automatically says, no, that's not for me, because I don't fall into that category. And the same goes for a man, maybe let's say in 20s. He says, hey, I have back pain, but I'm not over 30, so this is not for me. And just making these little adjustments to your offer, right, for who it is, right, what pain you're solving, for what audience, what are the specifications of that audience, right? How do you solve the pain point? How do you solve the pain? This all matters, because that falls down into audience and your offer, right? How specific, how targeted, and how focused you can make your solution and your offer. It has to be very specific, because once you make it very broad, very generic, you will get mixed of leads. Okay, you may be gonna get 10 leads unqualified and maybe one qualified that fall down into actual in what you are actually doing. In this case, taking the example of back pain, right, we may be gonna get one person with back pain, okay, and then the rest we're gonna get with all other pains except the back pain. But if you are very specific, you say, hey, I am a professional therapist helping men over their 30s to overcome back pain, and then you said, hey, that impacts their work or impacts their lifestyle, then we have an offer that is specifically for one audience. Okay, and then obviously, to make it more specific, we can include time frames, right? Because it makes your offer more desirable. So you could say, hey, I'm an expert. This is from top of my head. So let's say I'm an expert focusing on back pain. I help men over 30s to overcome back pain in let's say given time frame in 30 days using my proven you could say stretching system, my special some type of system that, or some type of method that you use in order for you to solve that back pain, right? So now you have a very specific offer, that you have target audience, which is man over 30s. We have a specific pain point we solve, back pain. Then we have also, how do we do it? We do it by using a certain method or maybe a certain system. And then we also going to include more specifications. We're saying, hey, we will solve this problem in 30, 60, or 90 days. And then it gives a very specific offer. Okay, and that's how we then can start getting leads. Now, a couple ways of how we can get leads, right? So once we have sorted out the offer, I hope I didn't confuse you. So once we have an offer, once we are very specific for who this offer is, I'm going to use the example of back pain. Let's say for man over 30s that's suffering from back pain and it's impacting their lifestyle or maybe their work, okay? And you said, hey, I'm going to help you solve it with a certain XYZ method or XYZ system in 30 or 60 days. Obviously, you can make it much better. You can make it much sharper and punchier. So once we have that, next thing is, where do we actually find leads? how do we actually do it? So there's a couple methods in how we can actually do that, right? The first one is a cold outreach, which means if you do not have enough budget and you want to really scale your business, you have one client but you want to get more. And there's a couple things we can do. We can do cold outreach. Either we do cold outreach, which means we can outreach to 100 people, or we can hire appointment setters based on commission or based on KPIs, knowing that they will reach a certain KPIs that will put also clients inside a business, right? So that happens when you do not have any money, okay? Next thing what we could do is we can also set up some ads. Some ads that we can run is lead form ads, meaning like we have a simple ad, people apply, they click on an ad, and they apply to a form. They fill in the form, and then you can have qualifying questions that qualify them in this lead form, okay? And then obviously based on the qualifying questions, you can then see and give lead scoring to leads that have filled it in, and then see which actually qualifies by reaching out to them and setting that appointment, okay? Or they fill in a leads form, they schedule a call with you already, and then once they schedule a call, you can already see the lead form. And the people that don't match specific criteria that what we are looking for, let's say we are looking for, even let's say we are more specific about our offering, you say, hey, man over 30s that are executives, man over 30s that are working in an office, right? So let's say we are very specific, working in an office, and let's say they don't specifically fall down into that criteria. So what we can do, we can take it off and just focus on people that do. Another way we can do that is by building an actual VSL funnel, which is a full video sales letter funnel. There's a lot of components. I will actually make a video about that, how to make one for your business so you can scale through ads. VSL funnel, it takes a little bit of time to actually crack the code in order for you to actually scale through VSL. Another one could be a group funnel, right? A group funnel where you could, let's say, for example, you may have a lead magnet. You may give, hey, I'm going to give you 5 exercises how to overcome back pain in the next 24 hours, right? All you need to do is just, let's say, it's an opt-in page. Hey, just put your name, your email, and I will send you a free copy. Let's say they put a name and an email, and they click submit, and it takes them to the next page. And on the next page, you simply offer them the opportunity to, let's say, join your Facebook group. And in order for them, and obviously you need to give them a bribe to join the Facebook group, because nobody's just going to join another Facebook group. So you could say, hey, I have a free course. I have an actually free course built out just for you of how you can take care of your back in the next 7 days using my seven-day system. This course is all built out in my Facebook group. All you need to do is to get access to it, to just join a Facebook group. And then what you could do is, obviously, once they join your Facebook group, you can then set appointments. You can then do like outreach to them, people that are joining in. You can automatically get them there and start booking appointments with them by reaching out, okay? Another way is we can set up a cold email campaign, right? A cold email campaign, it takes some time to actually crack the code as well, because you're doing, first of all, there's love. You need to first of all get the leads, then you need to verify the leads. You need to verify, so make sure you actually can send enough emails without actually getting spam, because if the emails are landing in a spam folder, or let's say the emails are landing in addresses that don't exist, then automatically the provider will mark your email or your domain as a spam. So for this not to happen, you need to warm them up. You need to verify the emails. You need to send out some personalized messages at first before you can actually do mass. So it takes some time. Another way we can do that is by doing shoutouts, right? So you maybe can find a certain Instagram page that is all to do with therapies and solving health problems. And maybe on that page they have, let's say, 500,000 followers, and you can pay them to do a shout out about your business, and you can start getting leads in as well, okay? Another way, so a couple ways. We did appointment setting, we did application, so that means a lead form funnel. We also talked about VSL, we spoke about group funnel, we spoke about cold email. And then another way is actually getting appointment setters, just called appointment setters, doing the DMs as well, okay? So the first thing you need to really understand in order for you to really get specific, so it doesn't matter if you go after a VSL funnel or you build a group funnel, whatever funnels you build, or whoever you tell to do the outreach, they will not succeed if your offer is not fixed in the first place. So the first thing you really need to do and really need to focus on fixing your offer and having an offer. And then obviously understanding how to price your offer, because you want to be selling a high ticket offer in order for you to have appointment setter or somebody helping you, okay? Because nobody's going to do it for a low ticket offer. So a high ticket offer, and you need to make it very specific, like I just said, with specifications. You need to tell, again, I'm just going to cover some points. So who we are solving it. Let's say we're solving it for men over 30s work in office that are suffering from back pain. Then we tell them how do we solve it, either a special system or a certain method, okay? And then we tell them in how many days. It could be a time frame of 30, 60 days. Or if you could do it faster, you can do it faster. And then you can give them a guarantee, like if I don't do it in XYZ time, then I give you a refund, okay? You can obviously do it, but it has to be very specific. I gave you some good examples. Now let's move on to the next part. So once we have the leads sorted out, right? We either running ads, we have some cold outreach, or maybe do a combination of both. Okay, so we can either do a combination of both. There's multiple platforms you can do. Also, you can diversify 2 platforms. What I would always suggest is don't diversify platforms first. Make one platform working, and then once you have one platform working that is giving consistent leads, consistent sales, and consistent clients and consistent income into your business, then diversify and go on to the next platform and try to crack that platform as well. Okay, now moving on. So now let's say we have leads coming in. Okay, why is the next thing in order for us to really scale? Let's say we have a couple sales happening. What is the next one? The next one is really getting into scripting the right questions, right? The qualifying questions, the sales flow, and the closing. How can you get into a KPI of 40% of closing ratio? Okay, so how can you take 10 calls and make predictability, right, and consistency in your selling and your closing, so you can say, hey, every single month out of 10 calls, I will close 4 calls, I will close 5 calls, or I will close 6 calls, right? How can you make it predictable, and how can you improve? And then also, one of the biggest things in order for you to scale your agency or scale your consulting or coaching business, it's not to focus on wearing all the hats. Sometimes I see coaches are wearing too many hats. They're doing the DM setting, they're like sending messages out, then they're posting content, then they're also like taking sales calls, then they're onboarding people, fulfilling, then they're being tech support, and they're wearing all these hats in one business. So sometimes for sales part, you can find a good closer somewhere where you can find it. Actually can do I will do a video of where to do hiring, and where you can actually find some decent closers and actually get some training for them as well, right? So first, you can also look for a sales closer for your business, because sales closers will only work on commission. They only have to work on commission. There's no basic in selling, okay? Sales is all about making money. It's all about commission. So obviously, couple things before you plan about getting a closer, before you plan about getting a salesperson, you really need to think about what are the scripts, what will be the questions, what is the sales flow, what is the closing, right? What are the different frameworks? I also can do a video on that later on about building out the perfect sales script for you, and then also getting people trained, because once you hire somebody, there's a couple questions. I'm gonna get into that just now, but then yeah, your sales is all about scripting, questioning, sales flow, and closing. Like, so you need to make it very natural, conversational, but you need to make it where you have a framework, where you take the once you've found the leads, right? So you have a VSL funnel, whatever funnel you have, a group, a cold outreach, whatever thing a system is working for you. Now we have leads coming in. You need to have a framework, how you follow. You take them through questions, you qualify them, making sure it's the right lead, you tie them down, and you close them, okay? You need to have that, because it's about systemizing the entire lead coming in, lead being closed. That all process has to be systemized in order for you to actually be capable of scaling, okay? Let's move on to the next part. So now we have covered leads and sales. So the third pillar in order for you to scale a company is systems, right? How can we systemize the business? How can we systemize the entire, like, let's say, the follow-ups, the the messaging, the reminders, the let's say the show up rate. How can we systemize all that, making sure, right? One thing is building, like when we are building our funnel, how can we make sure that people actually show up and call? A couple things we can automate is the sequences, right? The reminder sequences, the follow-up sequence. What happens if they book a call and don't show up? The sequences. What happens if A happens, and what happens if B happens? So all these sequences are being built out, right? So we are automating the business, right? So from the moment we run ads, we may have a person doing that, right? So you want to systemize. You don't want to spend most of your time doing everything, or most of your time everything is being manual. Because once everything is being manual, you can't really scale it for a couple of reasons, right? And you can't scale for a couple of reasons because it's not really systemized. Right? Let me get my charger. You can't really scale. You can't really scale and can't really systemize a business if most of your business is based on manual processes. In order for you to scale your business, you need to systemize. You need to automate your business, because in that way we are saving time and we are focusing on money activities. Okay, money, income, money delivering activities. Okay, so think about things that can be systemized. Maybe the hiring process can be systemized. Maybe the training process can be systemized. Maybe the follow-up sequences and other things can be systemized. Maybe the process of how you onboarding clients can be systemized. Maybe the follow-up, or maybe the checking in when you are fulfilling a client can be systemized. Think about systems. Think in a way of systemizing. Think in a way of systems in the business, because every single great company, Amazon, Apple, Microsoft, every large company in the world, all think a way of systems, because every single big business is systemized, because in that way you can really scale very fast. Okay, let's talk about the next one, right? So this comes into your hiring processes, right? So when we are hiring, maybe we are hiring appointment setter, maybe we are hiring a closer, an ads manager, ad specialist, maybe we are hiring a trainee or VA, whatever it is, right? So this is the culture, right? The hiring and the culture, like what culture, what are the core values of your company? Because all of this really matters. When people join company, they don't want to just join company to make money. Yeah, most of the times at the start, maybe when you're dealing with at the start, maybe you will be dealing with some people just there for make money. But as your company grows and you need these higher value players inside of your company, these A players in your company, it's not just enough to say, hey, this is the salary and this is a very high paying job. They're looking more for the culture, for the big mission. What is the big mission for the company? Do I have purpose here? Is there a ladder that I can climb? Can I grow with this company, right? So there's many things. So a couple of these things would be culture, hiring, training, and alignment. So first of all, culture. What are the core values that your company believes, right? What are the core values that you follow? What are the principles in your company, right? Because these all things really matter. And then obviously move into the hiring. And the hiring is very, very important. So either you want appointment setter, let's say you currently have no leads and you want to get appointment setter, you can't just hire appointment setter and say, you probably have some training, I hope you figure it out. No, you need to have some training. The best way to do it, you can use AI to really give the description of your business. Who is your target audience? You can, if you don't have a target audience now, you have some training from this video, you got some insights. You can use this in order for you to get very specific on your offer. Once you have very specific offer, you can ask ChatGPT or whatever AI you're using to really give a custom training, custom or personalized training for appointment setter. Okay, and then you also can ask them to make scripts for your sales. Obviously, ChatGPT will not understand all frameworks and what it takes to really build out a perfect sales script with all the frameworks and questioning and models. It will maybe give you very generic, but you can use that generic as a starting point. And the same goes for your appointment setting training. What I would do first, before I even hire appointment setter, I would first try to implement that strategy myself and see if it's successful. And if it's successful, let's say I booked one call, it's enough to validate that strategy, to say, hey, it's working, okay? And then you can give that to the appointment setter that you hired and said, hey, this is working, this is the strategy, and then obviously you can work around numbers of the compensation. Because the reason hiring is important, right? It will help you to scale your business, but only if it's systemized hiring. And when I say systemized, when they come in, you have a time frame in which you actually can train them, right? So you have trainings already. Either it's in a document, it could be in a video format, or it could be in audio format, but you need to have training already before you hire somebody. Before you hire a closer, maybe they come with the relevant experience, maybe they have experience, maybe they have life experience, but what you need to understand is before you hire anybody, you need to have systems in place in order for you to train them so you can get them into a KPI. Because that KPI is automatically when your business can start scaling. If you can't get somebody in the KPI, you can't get them to, say, book in 2 calls a week, or let's say book in 3 calls a week, you have a problem. Okay? The same for the closer. If you have 3 leads coming in a day and the closer can't close them, there's a problem. Obviously, there could be a problem with leads, there could be a lot of problems, but the systemizing and the training is what really makes the difference, okay? The training, the hiring, the culture, and obviously the alignment. How well do you align with your leaders and the people that you are hiring, right? Do you have alignment in the mission? Do you have alignment in the purpose, okay? So I hope these 4 pillars really understand you what it takes to really scale business. This is an overview. Obviously, there's a lot of little nitty-gritty things that needs to be really solved and understood in order for you to scale, but these are the 4 pillars that scale business. Next thing I want to mention, right? A good question that I got asked was, how can I actually take my offer from, let's say, 1.5 all the way up to 10K? There's a couple ways that you can do that, right? How can you increase the price offer? So the first way we can do that is by simply putting a high price and trying to sell that high price. And if somebody buys that high price, we can get a validated offer. So that means, hey, this price point for this offer is validated because somebody bought it at that price point. Okay, that could be one way. Another way is opening a high tier market. What I mean by that, let's say, I'm gonna give a different example, not a back pain example, but somebody else. Let's say I help full-time dads. Let's say I'm just a coach helping a full-time dads to get in shape. Okay, a full-time dad. My offer is maybe 1.5 all the way up to 2K could be. So how can I get that offer to be 5K or even 10K or even 15K? How can I make it happen? A couple things. When we want to look at offer, we want to look at dependency level. When I say dependency level, where could we deliver bigger impact, where people will depend on this offer more? And how do we do that is simply by looking at higher tier in the market. So let's say instead of saying full-time dads, help them to get in shape, I could say, hey, I'm helping sales executives, I'm helping founders, I'm helping CEOs. Now this tagline, a CEO, a founder, or sales executive, or developer, now we are delivering a bigger impact. Because somebody that's a full-time dad and a CEO running a company, okay, and there's all other responsibilities, for him to get in shape and for him to get in better health is much more impactful, and it will deliver more impact for the company, for the family, for himself. So there's bigger impact you can deliver than somebody just being a full-time dad, okay? There's a different level you are delivering. And because it's a CEO, they have more money to afford. And in that way, you can also price your offer because the impact you're delivering for them is much higher than just a full-time dad. And because you're delivering bigger impact, you can charge bigger tier as well. You can charge bigger price for a bigger tier market, okay? And that's how you can really increase your price, right? So I have done that by scaling a couple offers before, where we went from a full-time dad helping a person actually literally helping a full-time dad to get in shape. What we did, instead of focusing on just full-time dads, we focused on CEOs, okay? And that price offer you can easily increase, okay? So this is how you can also increase the price. So now you understand the 4 pillars of scaling the business, what it takes, right, in a nutshell. And then you also understand what it takes to really increase your offer. So I hope this video, this content really helped you to understand something of how to scale your business, what it takes to scale the business, what are the 4 pillars. And I hope this really delivers and hits home. And follow my channel, follow Systems for Scaling, because I will be dropping more content like this can help coaches, consultants, and agency owners to scale their businesses. My name is Robert Wolfman. I'm the CEO of Systems for Scaling. Thank you for watching this, and I see you very time soon.